There are a lot of scandals, almost all of them of his own making, that Donald is desperately trying to keep buried. So that's where we come in because we won't let him. We're going to discuss the latest in the Donald Jeffrey Epstein scandal. This week, Adelita Grijalva won a special election for a House seat in Arizona, which narrows the Republicans' already razor thin margin in the House even further. What else does it do? Well, it gives another vote toward forcing the discharge position for the release of the Epstein files. The New York Times reports that Grijalva has pledged to sign the bipartisan petition as her first act in Congress. This would make her the crucial 218th signature, which will provide the majority needed to pass the motion. This petition, of course, as we've discussed, is being spearheaded by Republican Thomas Massie and Democrat Ro Khanna, and it would require the Department of Justice to release the Epstein files within 30 days. Here's Adelita Grijalva discussing her pledge on CBS News.
I think it's important to note that the Republican Party and Trump specifically during the election said, day one, I'm going to release the Epstein files, so we know. And we don't know why that hasn't happened, other than the fact that there must be something in there that Trump doesn't want us to see. And so it is all about transparency. And when we, as a Congress, push for a vote that Johnson doesn't want us to take, I think that it's important to note, like, you have to wonder why. And so respectfully, we don't know what's being held back. And the victims in this case deserve their day of justice. And those that are implicated deserve to have consequences, legal consequences for their conduct. This is really about making sure that the victims of these sexual assaults have a voice and are heard.
The effort led by Massie and Khanna still faces procedural hurdles and, of course, significant pushback from the Trump regime, which is pressuring the handful of Republicans who want the Epstein files released into changing their minds. Grijalva's signature, however, will force GOP leaders to confront this issue that they have been desperately trying to avoid. But before we go on, we cannot let the truth get buried. So please like and share this video. And if you believe in our mission, subscribe to our channel. All summer, more details have been coming out about Donald's deep connections to Jeffrey Epstein and potentially Epstein's crimes. Donald has been trying to cover up and contain these bombshells, but because he's desperate and inept, he's been failing miserably. Let's not forget, Donald got himself into this mess. For years, he promised his base that he and he alone had the courage to release the Epstein files, thereby exposing the names of those on Epstein's list. He led his followers to believe that those names belong to people in the upper echelons of the Democratic Party, the globalists, you know. Donald's own attorney general, Pam Bondi, bragged about releasing the Epstein files earlier this year. Take a look.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients? Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
Since then, crickets from the DOJ anyway. To recap, Bondi's statement led to a botched PR stunt in which right-wing influencers were handed so-called Epstein binders filled with already public material. Then we learned that according to Donald's own DOJ, his name, the name Donald Trump, appears multiple times in the Epstein files. At that point, Donald was even more desperate to change the subject, telling people there was nothing to see here, they should move along, which of course made him appear even more guilty and made his base even more desperate to have the files released. After Donald's fallout with Elon Musk, the multi-billionaire and fascist loser, claimed on Twitter that Donald is indeed in the Epstein files. Then both Attorney General Pam Bondi, the Justice Department, and FBI Director Kash Patel tried to shut the story down with a July 4th weekend memo declaring the case closed. This backfired, of course, sparking outrage again in Donald's own base, along with demands for Bondi's resignation. Now, The Independent is reporting on the ongoing circus that was Donald's summer-long Epstein cover-up attempt. In the report, we're told that the White House treated the situation like a national security crisis. There were strategy meetings in the Situation Room and frantic calls to Donald's loyalists who were angry that he had gone back on his promise to release the files, which again, he had promised to do repeatedly during the 2024 presidential campaign. Donald even called Rupert Murdoch personally to try to stop the Wall Street Journal from publishing the birthday note he allegedly wrote to Epstein. Meanwhile, Donald sent his deputy attorney general, Todd Blanche, to interview Ghislaine Maxwell in prison. During that interview, she said that Donald never engaged in misconduct. Soon after that, she was moved to a lower security prison. Is that just a coincidence, or is that what they call quid pro quo? Also, I personally am not inclined to believe the word of somebody who was convicted of conspiring with a man who raped and sex trafficked girls and young women. Also, it should have people asking the question, why is Donald ordering his DOJ to do favors for a woman who conspired with a man to rape and sex traffic girls and young women? All of this is an effort to suppress stories about Donald and Epstein. It's almost as if he's acting like he's guilty. Wouldn't it be nice if Donald worked as hard at, I don't know, helping fix this country? But of course, he's incapable of such things. He only knows how to destroy things. He only knows how to cover things up. He only knows how to get away with things. But it also turns out that Donald is not the only member of the Trump regime with a vested interest in suppressing the Epstein files. Axios reports that Democrats on the House Oversight Committee released documents showing Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, and Steve Bannon all appeared on Epstein's daily schedule. These schedules list possible trips by Musk to an island he owned. They also reference a 2017 lunch with Thiel and a 2019 breakfast with Bannon. Committee Democrats emphasize that while these records don't prove criminal activity, they further expose Epstein's ties to powerful men. And men named in this way should have to explain themselves. As I mentioned, a handful of Republicans in the House have voted to force the DOJ to release the Epstein files. In addition to Thomas Massie, these include Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, and Nancy Mace. The White House is reportedly strong-arming them to withdraw their support, which is not suspicious at all. The decisions of these three women to support the petition are actually quite remarkable, considering that almost 100% of the time they give Donald whatever he wants. While the House appears set to vote within days on this matter, the effort, of course, would still face the challenge of clearing the Senate. But here's another thing we need to consider. There's a potential that the government is going to be shut down yesterday, which would suspend all House business. So my question is, does Donald actually want to keep the government open, or does he want to shut it to keep this investigation from going any further? Please take a second and like and share this video. It'd be awesome if you could subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to us in podcast form, please follow us and give the show a 5-star rating because it really does help other people find our content. Thanks.